Okay, we're going to look at some 5.7b, the division algorithm. And this section basically kind of completes the idea of dividing one polynomial by another. In section 5.7a, that dealt with division of a monomial, and the process was basically to divide each term on the top by the monomial on the bottom and kind of split things apart. In this section, what you'll find is that the value on the bottom is going to be something that is other than a monomial. So, for an example like they show right here, you have a trinomial on the bottom, and you're trying to divide it into this 4-term polynomial on the top. So the key is you focus on the bottom and you say, okay, there's more than one term. I'm going to have to actually use long division on this particular problem. So let's see what the tutor mode has to say about this. Alright, so what they're going to do is they're going to kind of walk you through the process. And it's kind of a repeating process, basically what an algorithm is. It kind of goes through and then repeats, and then you're going to keep going until you get to the final result. And the very first question they ask when they're trying to help you out here is they say, alright, convert this to a long division. What is c cubed divided by c squared? So what they're doing is they're looking at the front value here and the front value here. And things do need to be arranged in descending order of power right from the start. For both the divisor and the dividend, you have to have things with the highest power and then going down in descending order. So once you have that, you look at the front values and you say, okay, what would it take to multiply c squared by to get c cubed? And they ask it the question a little bit differently. What is c cubed divided by c squared? So either way, the answer to that question is c to the first power. So we'll say that. Now that value that we just found is actually going to go up on top. Okay, so we end up with c on top, and we're constructing our answer up there as we go. So the first part of our answer is that there's a c. And then the way I usually describe this next process is that I multiply c with each of the values over here. So c times c squared is c cubed. C times negative 2c is negative 2c squared. C times negative 5 is negative 5c. And you see all of that right there. Okay, now they show it off to the side too. They say what would happen if you multiply c by each of the values that were on the left. And then that result is what you see inside the parentheses there. Okay, they're kind of showing you two steps at once. I like to kind of think about that step, and then what they do after that's kind of inserted here, is that they put parentheses around it and they made a little negative on the outside. And what they're doing is they're saying multiply c by everything over there, and then subtract that from the line above. Okay, so by putting the negative there and capturing it with parentheses, they're trying to do a subtraction. And if I were to distribute that negative in, I'd have a negative c squared, negative c cubed, that would cancel with the positive c cubed. Okay, because really if you distribute this, you're going to just start adding these things instead. C cubed and negative c cubed added up give you 0. They cancel. Okay, but the next term, these guys right here, if I have a negative and a negative, that's going to be a positive. So they don't really do a good job giving us really the chance to kind of express this part. But negative times negative is a positive. So if I had a positive 2c squared and a positive 3c squared, if I added them up, I'd have a positive 5c squared. And then same idea for the last term. Negative gets distributed. This becomes a plus 5c combined with a negative 15c. You'd have a negative 10c. Okay? And I think I think they may want us to drop down the last piece too. We'll see. Let's try this and see if they're happy with that part. Okay, so this is what they wanted at this point, is just to say combine these two lines together. And then another thing that they don't quite address clearly is that they drop down the remaining values to this line. So negative 25 drop down to this line. Now the process we just followed, we're going to repeat. So I'm going to say again, front values, c squared and 5c squared. What times c squared gives me 5c squared? Or in other words, 5c squared divided by c squared is what? Well, these c squareds would actually fully cancel out here. You'd have 5. So 5 is going to be the next part of the answer, meaning that I already have a c up here, and then there's going to be a plus 5 that will come next. We should see that right up there. C plus 5. Okay? Remember the process. You do the front values, you calculate what the fraction was, what the quotient was of that. That was 5. Multiply it now with each value over on the left-hand side. They're showing that over here on this step. They're saying 5 times c squared is 5c squared. Notice that went right there. 5 times negative 2c is negative 10c. Goes right there. 5 times negative 5 is negative 25. You see that right there. But they take the negative of that because they're trying to subtract on this line. So when they subtract, it changes the signs of everything inside, and then you add the columns. And if you do that, everything becomes opposites, right? Everything cancels, everything cancels, everything cancels. There's a remainder of 0. And so what that means is that we can enter in our final answer now with a remainder of 0. The final answer is just going to be what you see up there, c plus 5. Okay, so keep in mind sometimes you'll end up with answers that have a remainder other than 0, and you're going to have to know how to express that in the answer, and we'll do one of those examples coming up so you can see how that works.